What is something you think everyone should know about being in a relationship? All the things you wouldn't want your partner to do. You can't do those yourself either. This one right here, folks. I realized one day that I'm a huge freaking hypocrite. It sucks to realize that. Do not be fooled into thinking the grass is greener on the other side. The grass is greenest where you water it. Don't keep score. I don't, but she does. Point for me. You're so and you are on the same team. Assume the best of the other person and communicate often. Don't sweat the small stuff. Most stress in a long relationship doesn't come from big, dramatic incidents. It's usually the little things. Make sacrifices and make them generously. And don't let the little things build up until you explode. Talk about things, express your feelings, and if there is something you simply can't sacrifice on, then talk about it and compromise. Can't remember where I read this on Reddit, but it's you and me versus the problem, not you versus me. Never be mean. You can be upset at one another, but never say anything intentionally mean and hurtful. Once you cross that line, it's very hard to go back. Agreed. I've never had an argument with friends, family, or SOS where it was constructive to be intentionally hurtful, ever, and I've had quite a few arguments. It's not just about who you are and who they are, but also the timing of you being together. Also, it's not always going to work, and that's okay. Maybe you'll break someone's heart. Maybe someone will break your heart. Life will go on. Laugh. Look at your relationship as a comedy rather than a melodrama and you will do well. Look at your relationship life as a comedy rather than a melodrama and you will do well. Communication. The other person isn't a freaking mind reader. This is the stereotypical answer because it's the right answer. Your girlfriend is going to use more toilet paper than you could ever imagine. This is really obvious, but not many people seem to realize it. Relationships are a two-way thing. You shouldn't be expected to make all the effort and you shouldn't expect the other person to make all the effort. It's not going to work that way. If you don't want to end a relationship because you're afraid of being alone, or afraid no one else will love you, you're being dumb. Especially if you're under 21. But we both breathe oxygen, we were meant to be. You will have temptations. Don't be doing anything you wouldn't want your partner to be doing if you weren't around. There is so much more farting than you could have possibly imagined. You first get into a relationship thinking that the person wants to meet your needs, to be supportive of you, or fun for you, or giving for you, etc. You start off acting like you want to meet your partner's needs. Then the magic curtain pulls away and you realize that neither of you got into this relationship to meet each other's needs but to get your own needs met, to be supported, to be shown a fun time, to be given to, etc. Then, if you are lucky, you realize that the only way all of everyone's needs will be met is if you both stop focusing on what you need and actually focus on meeting your partner's needs. It's also important for you to meet some of your needs, and to give your partner space to meet their needs. For example, working on your own physical and mental health, pursuing favorite sports hobbies, and spending time with your friends. That you have to remember to treat them with consideration, just as you would do with a good friend or someone you were trying to impress. That part can go fairly quickly. You stop listening, you brush them off, you become too close in that regard, especially if you live together. Consideration and generosity makes the world go round. Give your time, give your attention, and never stop wanting to surprise them. Then, you'll get it all back in time. Treat him or her the way you would want to be treated, and in time they will adjust their habits accordingly. Oh, and remember that nothing is perfect for anybody all of the time. Everyone says relationships are hard, which is true to an extent. With the right person, it's easier and worth it. If you're in a destructive relationship, fighting every night, and sticking through it because relationships are hard, don't. It's not worth the time, effort, or heartbreak. For the youngins, don't text 24/7. There is no space, it's suffocating, and any flame will be extinguished. If you don't have compatible sex drives or beliefs about sex, it's not going to work. If you're not happy, talk about it. Don't string an unhappy relationship along. If you feel guilty about leaving the person, Think how much more guilty you'll feel when you're with them for even longer and they learn you weren't infatuated with them. Try to surprise one another in a positive way. Little massages, gifts, notes, sweet texts, etc. Keep your love fresh and communicate your feelings after a honeymoon phase may have ended. Just because your parents' marriage may not have worked doesn't mean you cannot have a successful relationship. You are not ever doomed to their fate. To the point of relationships being hard, I would say that my relationship is the easiest part of my life. It is like a break from everything else in my life. I know that this isn't the norm, but it is something to strive for. I am very lucky in this. Every relationship has their own dynamic. Some couples can't stand to be apart from each other for more than a day while others can be more independent, and that's completely fine. What works for some couples might not work for everyone else, but as long as it's a healthy relationship and you both are happy, then that's all that matters. About once a week I like to imagine that I am my husband. I usually do this when he is in his office. I will close my eyes and my inner monologue goes something like this. I am a 28-year-old man with a wife who expects a lot from me. I teach small children all day. My parents, who love me and raised me, are making poor choices with their health and money. There isn't a dang thing I can do to change them, even though I fear they are speeding up death with this lifestyle. My younger sister belittles me for not choosing her religion, and so on and so on. After about 10 minutes of doing that, the BJ Brigade is in town and I'm fixing a 3-course dinner. After all, he deserves it. People fart, and that's okay. No, god dang it, nobody farts. Just a little advice, the honeymoon period will end. Trust me, it is not joint ecstasy that forms a solid bond. It is facing adversity together that will make you stronger. Not to mention the mundane day-to-day stuff, the annoying habits, one partner wanting more sex than the other, the repetition, and the fights about who should do the fricking dishes. Underneath the calmer waters, the relationship is either growing in strength or gradually being eroded away. The latter can be stopped if you both realize this is happening and are both committed to working on it. Speaking of work, long-term relationships require constant maintenance, and sometimes, hard bloody work. This shouldn't be one-sided, though. A partnership implies that you are both in it together. When you find yourselves up crap creek, you both better start paddling. Some relationships do have an expiry date. Sometimes you grow apart. If you are ready to move on to the next stage of life, it can be hard if your partner is holding you back, and you don't have to put up with abuse or cheating. Learn to love yourself and find fulfilling things in your life because your partner isn't there to fill those holes. Yes, you will carry one another through the tough times, but your partner can't be expected to solve your deep-seated issues. It is important to look after yourself and have some time to yourself, especially if you have children. And finally, having children is one of the hardest challenges you will face as a couple. It will test you, and you will probably find yourself actively disliking your partner, and many of you will consider separation. At the end of the day, it's awesome having someone by your side, fighting in your corner, married 4 years, 2 kids, been to heck and back together. My god, all of that in 4 years. Don't let the relationship get too much in the way of your friends. If it doesn't work out, you friends will be the ones there for you, and it's important to keep them close. This is freaking important. Learn to be on your own first. Be financially independent, or at least able to take care of yourself, should you suddenly have to. That way, when you get into a relationship, both people know it's because the other person truly wants to be with them, and B, it keeps both people on their game because no one person is dependent on another and thus playing passive, aggressive control games. If you don't love her, let her go, only doing more harm to her by trying to make it work when it doesn't. It's lower than you think. What are you talking about? Ooh. There's only one rule that I know of, babies, god dang it, you've got to be kind. You can't force them to stay. The harder you try, the further they drift. Respect personality types. Don't try to force an introvert to be an extrovert. They don't need to be fixed. Also, make sure you're crystal clear on the hierarchy of your values. What's more important? Fighting over his reluctance to come clubbing with you, or being in a happy relationship? If it's not worth fighting over, don't. If you aren't okay being single, you shouldn't be in a relationship. I'm saying this as someone who tends towards codependency and who grew up with a mother who did the same. If you are only dating someone to fill the void in your life that a partner would fill, you are going into things for the wrong reasons. You don't necessarily need to be happy to be in a relationship. I have depression and have a mostly functional relationship right now, but being able to take care of yourself and, more importantly, watch out for yourself will make things so much better. When you build up the idea of everything being perfect once you get a boyfriend or girlfriend, you make stupid relationship decisions. You ignore your gut feelings telling you that this person seems a little off because they are nice and cute, and they seem normal most of the time. You ignore your friends telling you that they don't like this person even though you've trusted their judgment with everything else. You ignore it when your new partner starts to push boundaries you aren't comfortable being broken, and you accept the excuses they give you because they love you and you tell yourself those words mean you're happy. The best relationships I've had have started when I didn't want a boyfriend. I'm not saying that's the only way to start a good relationship because it definitely isn't true, but if you are comfortable with the idea of being alone for the time being, you will be much more objective when dating people and you will, hopefully, save yourself a lot of grief. If they cheated on someone to be with you, don't be surprised when they cheat on you. I can literally speak from experience on this one. Don't give up on what is important to you. Do not give up on something you are trying to accomplish. Going slow is worth it. There are always exceptions to the rule, but more likely than not, your relationship is not the exception. Why risk it? Why gamble? Life throws a lot of obstacles in your way already. Why make life harder just for that high of infatuation? Build a good, solid foundation to your relationship. Really get to know someone in their life. Make sure you're aware of all the deal breakers. Let them become your best friend, rather than treating them like a crack addiction. You have to love and respect yourself before you can successfully love and respect someone else. Be happy or at least content with yourself before you enter into a relationship. Some people seem to think having a significant other will absolve all of their problems. It only adds a burden onto your partner. Don't always do something for yourself because you want that same behavior reciprocated. That is, don't always expect your so to reciprocate oral sex right after you dish it. Good relationships often have selfless acts of love. You are going to fight. Learning to pick your battles is important, but don't bottle everything inside. Sex is important. Treat it as such. If the person stops showing interest, just let it go. If you try anal, use lube. Please don't give up on your appearance being attractive to your so, just cause you're comfortable in the relationship. So gained 100 pounds. Just learned the term for this on Reddit, lady boner killer. Things about your partner that slightly bother you now, will bug the living crap out of you in 5-10 years. Alone time is pretty dang nice. Gay men, frick off with that sex crap. Gotta treat me right before you get with this. Boundaries. Boundaries need to be made. Sticking to someone or being needy is the most unattractive thing ever. If you really love that one person, you might as well trust them that their decisions are in their best interests. Don't try to manipulate them. Had to learn it the hard way, but now I know better. Recently single here. Don't stay in a relationship unless you really love someone. Life's too short for mediocre love. Find the right person and treat them like you want to be treated. Also don't crap in the sink. People hate that. You have been visited by the money bird. It'll bring you good fortune, but only if you subscribe in 42 seconds or less. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.